Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1040 of our daily content grind, and today, I'm just going to be honest with you, the last 48 hours of this new year I have begun on the face of the planet has not been great. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take it easy today, and we're just going to go over the brand new 86 Optimus Prime in detail, because it is a very significant figure. This is a really big deal release, and there's a lot of discussion going on about it, and I think that is worth actually talking about. Okay, so just in the last few days since this thing was first leaked, thanks to a few different Amazon sites, we've already learned a lot more about this figure, even though I do not believe it is personally in anyone's hands just yet, outside of, like, industry people. But for the most part, there's a lot more we know about it now. So we're going to go over that a little bit. For starters, we do have official imagery that Hasbro has been putting out there now, including what the box looks like. And yeah, it's the scene. It is Optimus charging into battle to turn the tide in Autobots City. Yeah, I mean, this is just iconic. Like, this is just one of, like, the most iconic depictions of Optimus Prime at this point. Just that huge leap over the Decepticons' heads, shooting them down mid-flight. It's an epic entrance into the fight. Yeah, not a bad call. Not a bad call. I mean, it was either this or the death scene. Like, which one are you gonna put on the box, right? We do also have, like, the line art. Marcelo Matere was nice enough to share that with us, so we get a little bit of behind the scenes. And his art is, as usual, absolutely phenomenal looking. Really, really love how that came out. He also did this, which, you know, that's his stance as he disembarks the Autobot shuttle and the charge begins. This is one of my favorite. Like, it's a subtle pose, right? But it's kind of iconic, you know? It's like the last stand of Optimus Prime. And it's just such a powerful image. Like, there's just something really powerful about Prime from this perspective. In this pose, it's fantastic. I'm assuming this is like art for the side of the box, because all we see is the front and a little bit of the top. So I'm going to assume that's a side of the box we haven't seen yet, because I'd hate for this to go unused. It's really, really good. Speaking of art, we also got this, which is just kind of like the interior sketch of how all the bits and buttons inside of Optimus Prime actually work. You can actually see his head upside down inside the actual, like, cab. Like, that's actually funny to me. Yeah, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're not paying attention to exactly how the toys are constructed, but it's cool to see. And yeah, it does show the internal schematic of the actual trailer, which shows us that we actually can store both Roller and a deluxe Autobot inside at the same time, along with all the weapon and blast effect accessories. That's cool to know. There's a little bit more here. There's a little bit more to that. I'd really like to know if any two deluxes could fit inside. Like, can I fit 86 Bumblebee in there too? He's small. I might have to take out Roller, but it's just cool to know. It's just cool to see it. We also chat, as long as we're showing off, like, some of this behind the scenes, like, comparison stuff, because obviously, like that's the animation model for the truck that we see up there at the top. Here's Optimus compared to said original animation model. Now, we acknowledge that even at Masterpiece level, they can't get it exactly right. It's not perfect because it still has to turn into a truck. But for something that's being released at retail level, at normal Transformer scale, normal-ish Transformer scale, I think this does a pretty spot-on job. This actually does look very, very impressive to me. I think they did really good. I think they did really good. We do have some more comparisons I'll show you later. For now, I want to breeze through some of the images we saw on Monday, because that's when this whole thing broke out, just literally a couple days ago. There is the same shot. You know, we have the actual pose at Autobots. This is them trying to recreate that pose like right off the shuttle. He can't quite get it, or at least this one is not quite reaching that. This is just like a standard normal Optimus. If we look at posability, yeah, like there's plenty of that in this figure. We see that the hands are actually articulated, so he can actually do the point. I've noticed recently that in a lot of the non-transforming Optimus Prime stuff I've been getting, right? The YOLO Park and the even in the Blockies kits, I have seen them just doing this pointing finger thing, because apparently just like that's just a thing in Prime that I never realized. So apparently, yeah, pointing is a big deal. So the toy can actually point, as well as just firmly hold the cannon. You can still do that. Speaking of, it does mount a blast effect part. I like that, well, number one, I like that they didn't just cram a bunch of blast effects into this toy, like recycling those from like Omega Supreme or, I don't know, name a release with blast effect parts. Because Hasbro's kind of getting known for just bulking out some of these larger figures with that. They bulked out Magmatron with big accessory, with big, like, like blast effect parts. And I'm not a fan of them. I'm really not. Particularly because the plastic that Hasbro uses for those things, not the best stuff. Don't keep it in long-term contact with your ABS plastic. It can be a little melty long-term. Yeah, I generally keep those all in one bin to themselves. I don't intermix them with my standard Transformer fare. But what I like about them is that they are not over the top, like huge, like spears and like big crystalline jagged like spikes for the blast. Like it's just like a normal little laser blast. That's fine. If we continue on, we do see more accessories. We have the axe. From what I saw in the transformation parts, the hands are actually on ball joints. So you just pop the hand off and then pop the axe on in order to attach it. Pretty easy. This is not a thing he had in the 86 movie, but I think it's just a given at this point. If you are asking for higher than normal price for an Optimus Prime, higher than Deluxe or Voyager price, expect the axe. It's just going to be an accessory he gets no matter how much sense it makes or not. That's just going to happen. Likewise, for the same people who own a lot of blast effects, you should, at this point, own a small pile of orange translucent axes across all the different variations of Optimus Prime that exists. He used it in one episode. I just want people to remember that. And it was for one fight scene. There are Optimus Primes who have used orange axes in movies and other shows far longer than Prime did originally. Just putting that out there. I think it mostly just became a thing because we've spent so long getting these as accessories that now it's just a given to use them in the shows and everything. Let's go a little quicker here because we got a lot more to get through. There are some new photos to show off. So we've seen the Matrix. The big thing, one, it seems like the exact same Matrix that they keep using, which I think actually is starting to make sense because if you're going to have like an iconic item like the Matrix of Leadership, probably best to keep it like the same and consistent throughout every release. That way it's not getting weird or anything. I kind of agree with it. I'd also kind of like one that someone could actually hold. That'd be nice. But the one thing, hang on. The one thing, actually, no, we'll point that out later. There is another point to that. There he is doing the pose from the box, the leap into battle pose. He can do that. This is where I point out that he does have some good articulation in the feet with like toe transformation and hinges and all that. He also has the hip skirts are actually a separate component rather than being built into his hip. A lot of Transformers these days build that skirt into the hip in order to actually save a little bit of space. I'm glad they didn't go that route there. This is better. This is absolutely better. You can also start to see just like how intense the articulation starts to get in this one. There he is pointing again. Articulation that also includes, by the way, the ears being able to go down, so you can reposition those. We're going to start getting into the trailer here, which does include the original repair drone, roller, etc. Nice to see Roller can actually mount some accessories. He does have 5mm ports on the top of him, so he can actually do that. Let's see if we take another look. It, obviously it stands up. That's the way that the toy is always depicted, but you never really did yourself. The nice thing here is to see that all of his accessories do store on the inside of the trailer. So, I mean, that's pretty standard if you're getting a trailer. So, no huge marks, but just nice that they remember it. Here we got another shot of Roller. We've seen this before. Nothing terribly exciting there. What's more interesting is the fact that the drone can combine with Roller in order to create this little rolling attack platform. I think this is a cool idea. I mean, I like any time that they give those accessories a little bit more play. Not a bad idea. Happy to see that. And then, yeah, here we go. Another shot of the internal. And there's Prime. So you get to scale it out in the vehicle mode. Here's what it looks like with trailer attached, by the way. We have noted that, yes, they are using the gray stripes from the cartoon rather than the silver and blue from the original toy. Same as the fact that the windshields are baby blue in paint rather than being translucent. I guarantee you, at some point, you will see this toy done up in toy-accurate colors that has the correct stripe down the side and translucent windows. I promise you that. Probably darker colors, too. Now, I'm betting, because this feels like they're trying to produce a definitive modern Optimus Prime toy that is not like masterpiece expensive to produce. This feels like the piece they're going to put out 10 years from now for the 50th anniversary. Now, it's Hasbro. You're not going to have to wait that long for toy accurate. Give it a year. I will bet you right now, mark calendar on this, July 17th, 2024, TJOmega is guaranteed that within a year, you will either have seen or will at least know for sure that a toy-accurate version of this toy is being made. I have no doubt about that. But I also have no doubt that this is going to be like an anniversary piece for a long time. The same way Masterpiece 10 got reused over and over again. We can take a look at the vehicle mode with just the cab section. Nice and blocky. Very solid. I don't really see... Like, I see obviously hinges and panel lines, but I don't see any obvious spot where the robot is peeking through, which is great to see. Get a little bit more of a side angle to see that the gun can also store in the back. You can also see where the feet are in the vehicle mode, but they have made an effort to bury them inside the legs and the panels, which does actually make this work a lot better. They do seem to hide quite a bit better than your typical panel, or your typical Optimus Prime feet. You know, and that's all I ask. That's all I really ask. Just don't let the feet just hang out in the breeze. You know, like he's your uncle who just needs to let his toes hang out everywhere. I don't know, maybe just my uncle's like that. I don't know. There's also mounting points on the underside for these two blast effects, which I thought was a really cool inclusion. Yeah, because you're going to do the pose where he's flying in the air. Okay, we already got that. But here's the lead up to that. So you can do that scene either in vehicle mode or robot mode, which is kind of a cool idea. A little bit silly. I don't know how many people are really going to use this, but it's kind of funny that they thought to include it. I guess at this point, when you're trying to do the movie-accurate Optimus Prime toy, you have to include stuff that he did in the movie, right? So this is going to be this is going to be filled with a bunch of weird stuff to fill out the space. We'll talk about that a little bit more here. We got a breakdown we have to do at the end of the video. But we also had new photos of the vehicle mode, which is supposedly going to show the transformation, but this is about as good as we get, which really doesn't show anything. It's just the panels are down, the hands are off, so you can actually see how that transformation element works. Yeah, I wish they'd show a little bit more of how this toy actually transforms, because this is a really fascinating figure. Like, they seem to have gone as hard as they can on the engineering. I would love to see how this thing works before, waiting until, what, November before we're actually going to get our hands on it? Okay, so part of this coverage is from behind the scenes stuff where they started showing off a lot of comparisons and whatnot. So let me quickly pull that up so I can actually read through what they've actually had to say about the toy itself. I meant to have this pulled up before. Things came up. Things came up, so I've had to kind of throw this together. All right. Let's see. So to quote Evan Brooks on Instagram, designed by the wonderful Tomo-san over at Takaratomi, this bot was a passion project. One of my favorite design flourishes that Tomo-san came up with is how he achieved matching the animated leg's curved profile. It's a very simple hinge that allows the truck bed to go flat when you flip it over. It's brilliantly simple. I certainly love when blue robot boots are in that shape, and it really brings the animated look to life. We set out with several must-haves for this figure, including some extra articulation in his chest so he can clasp his hands together to deliver the final blow to Megatron. The butterfly hinges really does. That's his bad grammar. Sorry. Give him some next-level opposing ability. He's about a head taller than our previous leader, Earthrise Optimus, which you see now, which helps him scale a lot better with more recent figures. I'll show you that in a bit. He, of course, comes with a matrix and even articulated enough that he can be posed opening his chest panels. Roller and auto launcher, that's the drone, that's the repair thing. Housed inside the trailer, who can also merge together. We saw that. Roller can even pull the trailer by himself if need be, along with having Titan Masters right inside him. Being able to pull the trailer himself is actually a really cool touch. I really like that. We sighted the combat deck so it can carry a deluxe car bot inside with roller and auto launcher are also housed. Lastly, if you happen to pick up our Comic Sound Wave exclusive with a severed head Optimus included, I'm happy to show that can also fit on this Prime, albeit a bit small, as we wanted to make sure Earthrise Prime could still transform with it attached. Fun. Alright, and yeah, a brief mention that this is also supposed to be like a 40th anniversary item, first and foremost. So, in looking at the toy, yeah, like it is quite a bit bigger than Earthrise Optimus Prime, right? Okay, so I went ahead and found the G1 scale chart from the original sources, and yeah, that's basically where he's supposed to be. So on the right, you see your standard size Autobots. That's Jazz on the far right, Prowl, Wheeljack, etc. They come up to Prime's like midsection. They come up to Prime's pelvis. So this actually should scale a little bit better than the original. Like, we kind of think of that as like the perfect size for a Prime. No, not quite. Even the original like Transformers Bible for the series actually does mention, yeah, he's supposed to be the biggest of the Autobots. So this actually kind of makes sense. And honestly, that does look correct. That looks right to me, like seeing him in that position. And even with the new 86 Bumblebee, he actually does seem like, yeah, like that's the correct scale. I mean, I've seen Bumblebee way smaller, but that's animation weirdness. I like that he does seem to be in scale with Rodimus Prime, that commander class from years back. There he is with the Shockwave set head as well. I like that they just recreate that scene of Prime, like, giving like the hand off to Rodimus Prime. That's another like kind of famous imagery. It's like one of the famous Studio Ox pieces of Transformer art, so it's really nice to see them throw that in. Nice to see that they scale. Here's what they were talking about with the butterfly joints. You get so much range. Like, you have like a full 90-degree forward rotation on those hinges to move those arms in front of him, which is a fantastic bit of articulation. Now, I will say, yes, this is going to put him wildly out of scale with the current run of Megatrons, but that mold has been used a dozen times now. We do know that there is an 86-liter Megatron in the product listings that have leaked. I would be willing to bet that is a leader class that is going to be focused solely on getting up to Prime's height. So this is not shocking to me. I would assume is... I assume this is going to be the only time you see these two together. There is the Matrix. Again, yeah, he has the articulation to open up his chest on his own. What I like about the Matrix Annex is that it is a full one from the movie. Like, it actually has the cover, like the protective shield on top of it, not just the opening doors. Remember my big grievance with a lot of Optimus Primes in that you can just see the Matrix through his chest windows? That's kind of weird considering it's the most precious relic of the Autobots, right? And it's just kind of shown off through 2 panes of glass. This is how you fix that problem and be a lot more screen accurate to the movie at the same time. I'm really happy for the extra inclusion there. Here's the comparison on the trailer. Oh my god, that is such a big trailer. I think you could genuinely fit the Earthrise trailer inside the Studio Series trailer. That's kind of funny to me. We also have this shot as well, showing, yeah, the compatibility with the Titan Masters. Weird to do this far out from Titan Masters. We also see, yeah, even Trailbreaker, tall vehicle that he is, can fit inside the trailer. Funny enough, like they did the same thing that Rodimus Prime's trailer can do, and they found storage space inside the trailer bulk itself. Not a bad way. At least this way your blast effects are not going to get lost. Again, the way that the soft plastic responds to the hard plastic over long term, I would probably put those in a separate bag if I were you before stuffing them in there, or just not put them in there, period. Just an advisory, just to say. So I threw this comparison together. Now, this is Masterpiece MP44 Convoy 3.0 on the left and the new Commander on the right. This is not to scale, by the way. The Masterpiece is absolutely much larger. I am showing this just to show that, yeah, a lot of things that people were talking about with this new Studio Series Prime is that it's like a mini masterpiece. So I wanted to just kind of show how close that is. Obviously, there are some details that are a little bit different. Like especially like the thighs have a little bit different sculpting. Not sure why there's like a discrepancy there, considering they're both trying to be cartoon accurate. But I do think the new one gets pretty close. Like, that's a really clean Optimus Prime. That's a really clean Optimus Prime. I also point out MP44 because I wanted to showcase this. A lot of people have been talking about the big backpack of parts that is on the new Optimus Prime, the Studio Series. Okay, that's the backpack from MP44. That's pretty huge too. That's pretty huge too. And you know, at this point, we have to realize, like, Takara has some of the best toy engineers in the world working on Transformers in order to do what they do. If this is what they can do, even at Masterpiece, even at like essentially unlimited budget, just charge whatever you want kind of price point, this, yeah, this is fine by me. Like this, if even Masterpiece level cannot reduce the backpack, I'm perfectly fine with the one that comes with the Commander class. I think that's a perfectly good trade-off. There's another point to this, but I want to go back to this really quick. There's a lot of people comparing this to MP44. I want to point out, it's very hard to see. But do you see, like, just to the bottom right of where his, like, vehicle mode gas can is? Like, that side tank from his vehicle mode? You see that little line of red? One of the secrets to MP44, if you don't know, is that part of the cab is actually in the legs, which is a crazy piece of transformation. And it looks like they might have pulled the same trick here, or at least a similar one. So right away, like transformation-wise, I think this thing's going to be fascinating, especially if you don't have the Masterpiece and haven't experienced it before. This is going to take some turns you don't expect for a Prime. That's all I'm going to say. Back to the subject of the backpack, though. Do you notice what's different about the Earthrise backpack? It's the fact that you can see it from the front. The fact that his front bumper and his wheels are actually visible there. The thing about the new Prime is that all of that backpack, yeah, it's fairly large. It sticks out from his back quite a bit. But it's all located in the upper back, so that when you look at it head on or you look at it from, frontward angles, you don't notice it. It's all out of the way, so Prime does look very, very clean. And it's the same trick that the Masterpiece toy manages to pull off. Right there, that's an improvement. I know a lot of people were like, I think the Earthrise Optimus Prime is still pretty good. There's a lot of really cool things about that toy. I will acknowledge that there are people that do have issue with it, and I'm not going to lie, there are some weird things to it that I'm not terribly crazy about. It does feel very long-legged and small-armed. The proportions on him are a little bit weird. One improvement that I like the new one for is the fact that you can see it right here. You remember the whole hand debacle? So this is the original production photo for Earthrise Prime, and his hands were gray. The final version had them painted blue, but that means, paint on heavy friction areas. The same is true for his head. I have one down at the toy shop that I can't sell because the paint on his helmet is scuffed from the transformation scheme. So, yeah, just having the molded plastic already, that's a much better look. That's improved over the original, over the Earthrise. Something else that's weird about the Earthrise that always bugged me is the fact that the Siege version of this toy could actually fold away the vehicle mode wheels on his legs. This one cannot, even though a lot of the engineering guts for it are still in the toy. They never molded it out. Other little things you can tell, of course, like the fact that the inside of the legs are gray instead of blue, etc. Yeah, like, this is already a pretty good Prime, but I can see why, like, this is such an improvement. We've gotten such a better one. Now, the fun thing is, the way Transformers and toys in general work is, you're never going to get a definitive one. There's always going to be things that it doesn't do. There's always going to be things that it's lacking because, of course, eventually they're going to want to sell you another one. Why would you buy another G1 Optimus Prime if this one does everything right? So aside from the things like, it doesn't have the toy details that are iconic for a lot of people, there's little things it can't do like this. So the whole thing with, like, them pushing the pose of him flying through the air, the whole weird thing about that is he doesn't have a flight stand. He doesn't have any display stand to actually make that happen. The Masterpiece was smart enough to actually make, like the internal components of the trailer into his flight stand. That would have been a really clever trick to pull here. We didn't get that. So that's going to be a little bit weird. Also, we can talk missing accessories for days. The Masterpiece had Sideswipe's jetpack, alternate head, body damage. Now, I expect a, final battle or, alternate universe Optimus Prime where he's got the dead color scheme, and that's where you're going to see the extra damage across the body. But it would have been nice to have, some panels that could pop off and replicate damage from the movie, as well as a new head that also did the same. And as long as we're including things like the axe, I really wouldn't mind seeing other accessories thrown in, obviously here, the fuel pump from the original toy. As long as we're just trying to make a worthy $90 purchase, I feel like that's kind of, something I'd really hope for. One other thing that's weird, it's, weirdly missing, the spots on the side of the trailer. So, the original G1 trailer had these two, units where originally they were for Diaclone pilots, but today you'd probably put Titan Masters in there. Those two blue components next to the repair drone. I know they named it something else. I'm just always going to say repair drone. That being missing is also kind of weird to me. But then again, I'm confident in a toy-accurate version all on the way. And of course, things like the G1 sticker details are missing. I don't think the Toy Accurate's going to include that. I think Toy Hacks is going to have a field day with this toy when it comes out. So, yeah, that's just me, kind of musing over all the things that we've seen so far and everything we've been told about this. It is a spectacular release. Now, the question here, is it a $90 release, considering, it's basically the same thing as Rodimus Prime. It's one fairly large Transformer figure, but a lot of the bulk is in a trailer that doesn't really do a whole lot. I would actually argue it does less than Rodimus's trailer does. But, it's apples and oranges at that point. Whether or not it's worth it to you, that's your call. I will tell you, give you a heads up here, we're die-hard fans, right? We've gotten a ton of Optimus Primes over the years, and we know this ain't going to be the last one. So really, what this comes down to is this is not a release just for us. This is also going to be a release for the casual. It's going to be a release for those who just have nostalgia for Transformers, but all they really need in their life is just a good Optimus Prime toy. I have people down at the shop that are like that. You know, the only the only Transformer they want to buy is a really good G1 Optimus Prime. And yeah, that's going to be this toy for a lot of people. So even if you think it's not worth the $90, even if you think there should be more accessories, which I do think there should be more accessories, and no matter how involved or complex the transformation and the engineering is in order to justify its price point, there will be a ton of people paying it. You know there will. Whether they are hate purchasing it, compulsively buy every Optimus Prime, or what I think is actually going to be the majority here, those casual fans that only want one Prime. Simple as that. But that's the toy. That is going to be the toy this year. I believe it is a wait until November for it to actually come out, and we will see then. I'm sure someone will get their hands on it. We'll see a lot more about it then. But for now, that's what we know. So thank you for this, joining me on this little deep dive as I just kind of like gush over what looks like a really good Optimus Prime for half an hour. But no, thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.